but you often represent everybody's last hope. So who has the safest hands in football? Well, a few goalkeepers have staked their claim on the greatest stage of all. We start with Aldo Olivieri, the Black Spider. Olivieri was the unlikely hero of Italy's 1938 World Cup success. He'd recovered from a fractured skull earlier in his career to prove an inspiration during the tournament. Once described as a kamikaze pilot, at a time when scoring goals seemed infinitely more important than stopping them, Olivieri conceded just 5 goals in 4 games as the Azzurri took the title. Amazingly, Olivieri wasn't the meanest goalkeeper at that World Cup. František Planička of Czechoslovakia only let in 1 goal. He also played on despite breaking his arm in the bruising encounter with Brazil, for many, the best keeper of the pre-war years. Cue 1958 and cue the Harry Gregg story. A survivor of the Munich air crash just 4 months before the World Cup started, Gregg somehow managed to find it within him to propel Northern Ireland to the quarter-finals. That Gregg was voted best keeper of the tournament is testament to both his skill and courage. Virtues, of course, which apply to Lev Yashin. Is there a man who has had more impact on the modern game than Yashin? It was in 1958 too that Lev, meaning lion in Russian, made his mark. And what a mark. A keeper of great elasticity, Yashin was magnificent for the Soviet Union. The first goalkeeper to be named European Player of the Year back in 1963, Yashin is quite simply a legend, his name a benchmark for success. Want to travel to meet a goalkeeping legend? Then you could do a lot worse than go to Mexico. It's there that you'll find a man with a unique place in FIFA World Cup history. Antonio Carbajal, you see, has played in a record 5 World Cups, from 1950 till 1966, before he took his international bow on the hallowed turf of Wembley.
I think it's better to retire sooner rather than later, so that you don't embarrass yourself. That would be sad. It's nice for the fans and the press to say, we remember how good you were, and not to say, look at you now.
Proof indeed that good goalkeepers live on and on. If Antonio Carbajal's legacy is defined over 16 years, then another man's is defined by a single moment in time.
He's onside. That's a good cross ball, it's Pelé! And a fantastic save by Beck! What a fantastic save by Gordon Beck!
The greatest save of all time? We'll let you be the judge of that. Gordon Banks is an England legend. Whilst Banks was winning the World Cup in '66, a young goalkeeper called Sepp Maier was in the German squad. 4 years later and he was #1 choice and becoming the best keeper in the world. Nicknamed the Anzing Cat, Maier was German Player of the Year 3 times. The pinnacle of his career came in 1974. Having won the European Cup with Bayern Munich, Maier was then inspirational in denying Holland as Germany won the FIFA World Cup. Maier's mantle was handed over seamlessly to Dino Zoff. His career reads like an honours degree. He played for Italy 112 times. He holds the record for the most time spent without conceding an international goal, 1,142 minutes, and became the oldest player to win the World Cup when in 1982 he lifted the trophy as captain of Italy aged 40. Incidentally, the only goalkeeper to do so. Since Zoff's retirement, a number of keepers have vied for the position of world #1. Peter Shilton of England, star of 3 FIFA World Cups and once went 4 World Cup matches without conceding a goal. Thomas Nkono, the first black African goalkeeper to gain prominence, extremely agile, very unflappable. Harald Schumacher, Germany's goalkeeper throughout the 80s, imposing, tough and nerveless. Andoni Zubizarreta, over a century of international appearances and 4 FIFA World Cups, a Spanish legend. Walter Zenga, the Spider-Man, 38 clean sheets in 58 games for Italy, so close to a winner's medal at Italia 90. And Claudio Taffarel, who can forget his heroics which helped Brazil win the FIFA World Cup after a 24-year loan period. The new breed is pretty special too, the new goalkeepers of the 21st century. But from this bunch, there's one man who has stood out. Oliver Kahn. Nurtured by Sepp Maier, Kahn has become arguably the best goalkeeper the world has ever seen. Organised, agile, great positional sense, wonderful reflexes, he's got it all. The best player of the 2002 FIFA World Cup, Kahn is the one they all look to emulate. The art of goalkeeping is in safe hands.
Assets needed to be a great defender. Number 1, courage. Number 2, discipline. Only then are you allowed to show your talent. It's a funny old position being a defender, and a lot of the misconceptions can be attributed to one man, Carlos Alberto. Remember him? He was the Brazilian captain, a defender, would you believe, who sauntered down the right wing in glorious technicolor to produce one of the FIFA World Cup's most magical moments. This, remember, was an era when fullbacks should be heard but not seen. Brazilians, at least, had seen the way forward, and for them there was quite literally no turning back. The key to the modern defender, of course, is to be able to attack and defend. That's why Bobby Moore was invented. Moore pretty much had the ultimate defensive game when he led England to the 1966 World Cup. He could tackle, he was composed on the ball, and he could initiate attacks. He actually set up 2 of England's 4 goals in the final. Throw in leadership qualities, and this was the complete package. Four years later, and Moore was at it again. The way in which he dispossessed the great Jairzinho was a lesson in the art of defending. No wonder Pelé wanted to shake his hand. On the subject of versatility, Ruud Krol was capable of rugged defence and inspired attack, pivotal to total football Dutch style. The 70s, though, had started to breed a more ruthless type of defender, notably in Italy, where the style of Catenaccio depended on defensive stability. The Don was Claudio Gentile. He enforced it with ruthless efficiency. In the '82 tournament that Italy won, Gentile man-marked Maradona so closely that the Argentine still expects to see him every time he turns around. It bordered on illegality and wasn't for the faint-hearted. That was Gentile, hard, uncompromising, clever and feared. Italians still doff their caps in his honour. Gentile was the inspiration for a host of great Italian defenders, among them the evergreen Baresi. Bergami, part of the Italian 90 team that conceded just 2 goals. There's Maldini. Then again, there's always been Paolo Maldini. And Ferri, hard and fearless. When France lifted the FIFA World Cup trophy in 1998, it was based on a rock-solid defence. Zidane did his bit, no doubt, but his team conceded just 2 goals in the tournament. Vicente Lizarazu, Marcel Desailly, and Laurent Blanc were all magnificent, but the star of the show was Lilian Thuram. Recognised in recent times as the best defender in the world, Thuram's moment of glory came in the semi-final against Croatia. 1-0 down, he produced 2 goals from absolutely nowhere to propel France into the final. If Thuram was pulling up trees in a World Cup semi-final, then Andreas Brehme did it in the final itself. Goal scoring was a strong part of Brehme's game, that of a complete defender, one of a number Germany have produced over the years.
It's got nothing to do with mentality, it's to do with the ability to nullify your opponent's threat. In Germany, that discipline is encouraged and features largely in training sessions and of course during the match. When you win those personal duels, then you tend to win the match.
When Johan Cruyff was man-marked by Berti Vogts in the 1974 final, it was all part of a German master plan to negate a brilliant Dutch forward line. Paul Breitner was also part of the plan. What a World Cup legend he was to become. But the mastermind behind the performance was the man known simply as Die Kaiser. Franz Beckenbauer was the man who reinvented the sweeper's role, determined to play both behind and in front of his own defence. He did it magnificently, so well in fact that he actually has 5 World Cup goals to his credit. For both club and country, the early 70s belonged to him, so it was fitting that he held aloft the World Cup trophy, the greatest defender the world has ever seen.
The ultimate midfielder. Leadership, creativity, drive, goal scoring. The Lord above hasn't seen fit to create the perfect midfielder, but he's come mightily close. Is the world's greatest ever midfielder a Frenchman? Michel Platini certainly walked on water as far as Les Bleus were concerned. Amazingly, he managed to avoid winning the FIFA World Cup, falling twice at the penultimate hurdle during the 80s, a decade in which Platini graced the midfield, a creative genius with a great goal-scoring record. The first great midfield player was Giuseppe Meazza, winner of the FIFA World Cup twice with Italy before the war. 33 goals in 53 games for the Azzurri. Throughout Europe after the war, great midfielders abounded. Eric Probst scored a hat-trick among his 6 goals for Austria during the 1954 FIFA World Cup. Nicknamed the Boss, Helmut Rahn is the highest-scoring attacking midfielder in World Cup history with 10 goals. A formidable right winger who got the winner for Germany in the 1954 final and recovered from a drink problem to score 6 goals in 1958. Another wide man who made a significant impression in '58, Lennart Skoglund. Nacka, as he was known, was exemplary as Sweden made it to the final on home soil. Hungary had some magnificent midfielders. Among the best, Lajos Tichy, 7 World Cup goals in 2 tournaments. Josef Masopust was the star of Czechoslovakia's midfield during the 60s. His goal in the 1962 final against Brazil ultimately wasn't enough, but a great player. Which leads us nicely to Bobby Charlton, the best midfielder in the history of English football. Stylish, graceful, 2-footed, and in the summer of '66, he inspired England to World Cup triumph. His finest hour and a half came in the semi-final defeat of Portugal, scoring both goals in the 2-1 win. Now it's fair to say Brazil have had a fair midfielder or two down the years. Didi orchestrated back-to-back World Cup titles. Jairzinho, the winger who emerged fully in 1970 to score in every round and led Brazil to the title. Rivellino, great tash, great player. His trademark free kicks are still talked about to this day. Socrates, the doctor, surgical passing and, when the chips were down, clinical finishing. And Falcao, the artist, a wonderful playmaker. Arguably the best midfielder that Brazil ever produced, though, was born with a disability in his legs. The operation which enabled Garrincha to walk was probably the most significant in football history. Teammates begged the coach to play him in 1958. Thankfully, he listened. His banana shot continues to amaze to this day. A true legend, up there with Pelé. Germany have had their fair share of great midfield generals. Helmut Haller scored 6 goals in World Cup history. Wolfgang Overath voted the best midfielder at the 1970 World Cup, though it was at 1974 that Overath and Germany won the ultimate prize. In that final, Germany beat one of the finest Holland teams ever, which included